What's going on YouTube? Username Kite562 here with another Beastars review, and it's volume 16. Now last time I did my review of volume 15, so I'll leave a link to the playlist in the video here, somewhere on the top right, like a card or something, so you can catch up if you missed out on, my volume 15 or want to keep track of this stuff and revisit it later when more volumes release. So anyway, let's get on with the review. As always, these reviews contain mild spoilers, but not too much to ruin it for new readers. And as always, Beastars is written and illustrated by Paru Itagaki and published by Viz Media. So let's get on with it. Now, my first point is Leanno wants Legoshi to live. Now, I'll keep this as vague as possible, but Legoshi is in the hospital. The reason why, in volume 15, well, near the end of it, Melon shot him, and Legoshi let Melon escape from volume 15. So he's running about in volume 16 doing God knows what. So anyway, let's continue. So anyway, the meaning that Leanno wants Legoshi to live, she wants him to live without any regrets, and Legoshi felt like he lived his whole life with regrets, but kind of paraphrasing the manga, like any good thing that you'll do will cancel out those regrets. I mean, if I got that wrong, let me know down in the comments below. So I just thought that was a really beautiful moment that Legoshi had with his ghost mother, whatever. It was just a really sweet and heartwarming moment, in my opinion. So anywho, point number 3, Gosha and Yaya have a fight outside the hospital due to Legoshi's injuries, and Gosha hopes that Legoshi can survive, but it turns out he does. So Yaya and Gosha end up having a fight within the hospital, and Gosha really doesn't want Legoshi to waste his strength fighting, or waste his life fighting. He wants Legoshi to live a happy life in any way, shape, or form. So I just thought that was a really sweet moment for Gosha, well, a sweet sentiment for Legoshi's sake. But all in all, it turns out Legoshi's fine. One of the nurses went to go change his IV, and then he left Gosha a letter saying, "I'm fine, I'm up, I'll be back by dawn," around those lines. And I thought that was just really funny because both Yaya and Gosha were surprised, and you can just see the expression on their face, and it was just absolutely wonderful. So anyway, point number 4, Beasts celebrate Deep Night, which is kind of like a lunar full moon festival where both carnivores and herbivores gain strength bonuses from the moon's energy when it's full out, and vendors serve highly nutritious foods to help them build back their strength or muscle. And Legoshi goes here to order some udon and just wonders if he can live up to his mother's expectations, and he kind of gives himself self-doubt. But then he ends up crossing paths with Yaya, and then Yaya wants to cancel their contract, but Legoshi's like, "No, I spent all the money you gave me," and Yaya's like, "What? Did you buy property or something?" So, and Legoshi's like, "No, actually I only spent 700 of it," which I'm assuming is 700 yen, which would only be like, conversion standpoint, $7. If I'm wrong, I'll just leave a little text box here with the correct conversion rates. So, if I got it wrong, I apologize. So, there. Okay, so point number 5, and this is kind of like in the middle kind of part. Juno and Louie end up having tea together just to catch up every now and then, and I thought this part was really interesting because Juno, she really does have feelings for Louie, but like every time that Louie gets away from Juno, she has the urge to chase him, and like after their little tea time gathering, meeting, whatever. It's just, they end up holding hands with one another, and she tells Louis, "Did you see that straw over there? Would you like me to do that to you? Or do you remember our kiss from when you graduated?" And Louis is just annoyed, so Louis mentions he has a fiance and he's engaged to be married to this deer named Azuki, I think her name was. So, and Azuki, to me, just seems really robotic, because Louis and her end up having dinner with one another, and she wonders if Louis can perform well in the bedroom because of his leg injury. So I'm not going to get into more details than that, so by all means, go check out the manga. So anyway, Juno ends up going to Legoshi's apartment for relationship advice, since Legoshi and Haru are a couple. Well, couple, in my opinion. So I just hope they get more time together, but that's just me. So anyway, point number 5, or 6. Juno asks Legoshi for advice, since Juno knows that Legoshi and Haru have feelings for one another. So Legoshi gives Juno the advice that willpower is key. Like, Legoshi has strong feelings for Haru, but he doesn't want his instincts to end up accidentally devouring Haru in some way, shape, or form. So he just kind of teaches Juno how to keep that self-control in check. Because Juno, like she mentioned, she gets this urge to chase Louis every time he gets away from Juno. And, you know, it's just a wonderful dynamic with what this manga brings with all the characters and whatnot. So it's just absolutely phenomenal. So anyway, after that little heart-to-heart spiel, Juno and Legoshi go out to grab something to eat, since Juno's been gaining weight and has been hungry. So Legoshi summarizes before they leave his apartment that Juno is lovesick. So after thinking about Louis all the time, you even see in one of the panels that Juno has little horns growing out of her head. So I'd make a little joke here, but I'll keep my mouth shut. So anyway, Juno and Legoshi grab something to eat. They both notice how other beasts notice them around in the public eye. Like, when they sat down to grab something to eat, their waiter is a herbivore goat that was kind of nervous and kind of scared to serve them, but they ended up getting free cups of pudding or custard, whatever you want to call it. So I just thought that was interesting, since both sides have to end up looking over their shoulder, metaphorically and literally, since herbivores wouldn't stand a chance against going one-on-one with carnivores. But you know how it all ended with Riz and Tim at the start of Volume 1 all those times ago. So, yeah. Or better yet, when Haru had to deal with the Shishigumi before Legoshi rescued her from Volume 5. So, it's really interesting at how well this series develops overall, in my opinion. So, anyway, near the end of that, Legoshi and Juno end up noticing all the looks they're getting from people. They think Juno and Legoshi had a fight. Legoshi has this discomforted look on his face. He's just... And then an alligator guy, carnivore, thinks that's a really cool wolf couple. So it's just all around fascinating at how people perceive certain species. And on top of that, same species couples get benefits, like their children get subsidies, they get cash gifts when they get married. And like, she thinks to herself, like after their dinner date, that she could have everything in the world, but would that actually make her happy? So she ends up staying the night at Legoshi's place, and then Legoshi ends up staying the night at Seguan's place, the spotted seal. So she just can't really say she's there for all beast or whatnot. So it's just, the series itself is really in depth, and this volume alone is just absolutely eye-opening at how quote-unquote broken this society is towards one species or another. So, point number 9. Melon has the difficulty time tasting foods, whether it's for carnivores or herbivores, because it ends up tasting like sand. And then he ends up hearing that a herbivore is enjoying a meal and thinks it's delicious, and he ends up glaring at them for a split second, and Melon just wants to flat out kill them outright. You just see it, excuse me, well illustrated within his eye, in the black shadow over it. So I just thought that was really interesting. But it was only for a split second that Melon felt this way, but he was able to chill out, thankfully. So anyway, yeah, Melon then goes to get a tattoo appointment to get some leopard spots covered with melon leaves. I thought this was a really interesting part, because like the only thing Melon enjoys is pain, and he thinks that's something worth living for, and it makes him know that he's still alive as a person. So, and it's just this gruesome yet awesome looking panel of this sloth tattoo artist named Holger, or his back alley market name, Psycho Killer, because he's such a very detail-oriented sloth, but he's so very slow at his craft. And I just thought it was really great, because you can see on one of his arms or biceps the words "quick" on it, and then all these detailed-oriented, like, tribal markings around it. It's a wonderful design from him. It's very simple, very elegant, though, and it's just a really wonderful moment within this manga. And then a couple of moments after that, Legoshi tries to end up tracking Melon, so he ends up tracing him to the tattoo parlor. Legoshi ends up crossing paths with Holger, so he ends up spewing some dialogue. So anyway, if you want to check that out, read the manga. So Legoshi ends up making an appointment of getting a tattoo, so he apologizes to his mother that he's getting another scar on his body, which I thought was pretty funny in the manga. So he just ends up getting the date of the day that he got his first tattoo, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So, but as Legoshi makes his way to the beach, he kind of remembers that, you know, what Melon told him. Society wants carnivores and herbivores to get along, but their offspring are treated as foreign bodies. Now, this is really frustrating because we don't know the full strength of a hybrid, or like, I mean, we know Legoshi, but he's only like 1/4 Komodo dragon. So only like a 25th of his blood is Komodo dragon, so he has immunity to Komodo dragon venom, from what I remember rereading this volume, but like no other weird features. If you have any more details, please let me know down in the comments below. So I just thought this was really an interesting aspect through Melon's eyes, and as Legoshi laments sitting at the beach side, he ends up getting shot in the ear by Melon from behind, and turns out that whole Holger dialogue between Legoshi and him was a trap set up by Melon. Like, Melon just fed Holger some lines, and Legoshi caught onto it and fell into a trap. And I'll leave it at that. So anyway, like a little after that whole scenario, we get turned back to Gosha's perspective. Now Gosha, to survive in his society, he always carries a bucket of disinfectant, of anti-Komodo dragon venom with him. And there's this really funny with one of his neighbors that one of Gosha's towels ends up falling on his pelican neighbor. And then Gosha just ends up dousing him with anti-Komodo dragon venom, and it's just really comical. So the guy is just like, if you're going to do that, just make sure it's warm next time. And Gosha, he shouldn't beat himself up like this, in my opinion. I mean, Gosha's a sweet guy, and I mean, you already know my gushing about Gosha and him being all a sweet cinnamon bun and all that. So anyway, as this chapter continues about Gosha, we get to see that he takes random shifts at a construction site as a construction worker. Along with on Saturdays, he volunteers at a nursery for mixed species children, and it's just absolutely delightful. Like, the hybrid kids are wonderful to see them. One of them looks like a cross between a bunny and a panda, and I just thought that was a really cute design and a really wholesome moment for this volume, and it really warmed my heartstrings. So Gosha ends up trying to read a story to the little ones at that nursery, and also the boss is a female gazelle, but you know, Gosha's there to lend them a hand. So he ends up bringing the kids drawing pads, crayons, all that wonderful stuff, and I thought that was just a really sweet moment within this manga. But he notices that there's these cleaner bats upon the ceiling, like just fixing the roof and everything. So he asks all the little kids, and then the head boss of the nursery, to go outside so he can actually talk to the bats one-on-one. But it turns out these are vampire bats with very evil ulterior motives, and it's just, the panels themselves were just beautifully illustrated, just absolutely wonderfully illustrated. So, and then it spikes back to finding out what Melon's weakness is. Now, the Shishigumi put Legoshi through a trial. I won't say anything more than that. Again, go read the manga if you want to fill in the blanks on this review. Please support the official release. So anyway, the Shishigumi tell Legoshi of Melon's weakness, which is in the form of Kopi-Luark. The Kopi-Luark gang, a group of vampire bats that has the leader who's a civet cat, and they have a habit of wanting to eliminate mixed species beast, whether that be any mixed species beast, whatever that may be, even including children. Case in example, the nursery that Gosha goes to. So we get jumped back to that. Gosha ends up ripping off his shirt ready to fight these guys, so he then activates his venom glands, and he just says attacking a child is just absolutely unforgivable, and I completely agree with him. So we get this badass start of a fight between the bats and this giant beast of a Komodo dragon known as Gosha. Like, he goes from this wholesome, adorable grandfatherly figure to this badass fighting machine, and it turns out he was a Marine. So, like, even before this fight, Gosha was flicking his tongue just to check whether there were enemies around with different motives, just to sense the place out. And I thought that was really interesting, and I cannot wait to see more of Gosha fight, and any more wholesome moments would be delightful too, just saying. So, anyway, my final thoughts on this volume: it's really well written. We get to see a lot of different perspectives. Like for the example of what Juno and Legoshi witnessed while they were going out for lunch, and then the awkwardness between Azuki and Louis having dinner with one another. And then it's just really wonderful. Like even before, like even when Juno was pouring her heart out for advice, Seven and Sagwan were eavesdropping on Legoshi's door, and you can even see in the manga that Paru kind of mentions that Legoshi's the Don Juan of Beast Apartments, which I thought that was pretty funny. So, anyway, I give Beastars Volume 16 a 9.0 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. So anyway, hopefully I can get this bright lighting fixed when I'm editing this video. So anyway, what was your favorite part about Volume 16 of Beastars? Let me know down in the comments below and let's have a discussion. I love talking to you guys. Thank you for the 17 subscribers on this channel. I hope more come to this channel and just sit back and talk about what they enjoyed about any manga that I mention on this channel, whether it be Beastars, Junji Ito. I will be doing a review of Beast Complex, but I don't know when. So I hope we get volumes 2 and 3 officially released in English if the series does well. I mean, case in point, I really enjoyed that short story collection. But anyway, this is Kite562 signing out. As always, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content from this channel. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, everybody. Later.